رتل قرآنك جوده وتدبر فيه ووقره فثواب الحرف به عشرا وبه الرحمن جزى أجرا.
Lesson 8. It's a new topic. It's called Al-Mad, or in English, the extension. And it's a very important topic. And I think that we're going to take the rest of the lessons, or at least this lesson and the next lesson, inshallah, to discuss this rule. So today we will have an introduction, a key to the extension. We will have the definition of the extension and the extension letters. We will have, inshallah, some slide about the amounts of extension and by how much or how long do we need to extend some letters. And we will go into the extension sections. We will describe the sections and the types. And my hope, inshallah, today you can go to this kind of extension or al-mad. So first we go to the key part to the extension. So if you are not familiar, I think most of you are familiar with people saying some letters more than usual. Like here in Surah Al-Fatiha, وَلَا we don't just say وَلَا we say وَلَا This mad we call mad, or in this lecture we would call extension, or in this course we will call it extension, but it's originally it's called mad. So this mad sometimes has this sign to make us know there is mad here, and sometimes it doesn't. So the key to this part, if you want to master this part of Tajweed, you have to answer two questions. The first question, where should I do the extension? You may come to your mind that it's only when we have this sign, which is not correct. So there is some other places that you can do extension. For example, you can say Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, and you can also say Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. So what I did here in Ar-Rahim and Al-Alameen, I did extension. So it did not fulfill this assumption that we only do extension when we have this sign. So it can be otherwise. So first we need to know where should we do the extension, and the second question is by how much should we do the extension. So this should not be according to our assumptions or according to our own kind of recitation. Like here, if I said Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen, maybe some people find it nice to say Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. What they did here, they did extension in Lillahi, and they did extension in Al-Alameen here in that alif, which is not actually this is not correct. So this kind of mad we shouldn't do except in the correct place and by the correct amount. And this is what we are going to try to answer, inshallah, to these two questions always. We try to answer, am I in a right place to do extension or mad, and by how much should I extend here? And I want to quote this line from Sheikh Ayman al-Suwaid because it's very important, and he said it while he was discussing these two key questions to the mad. He said, the Quran is the word of Allah, revealed as a constitution for humanity. We were asked to improve our voices to make them more nice while reciting so that hearts would love it. So a nice voice should serve the Quran and not the other way around. Not the Quran serve the nice voice. Here we come to this, the importance of these two questions. We should know where to do it, and we should know by how much we do it. It's not like because it fits my rhythm or my recitation, then I will do it anyway. This should not be the case. That's why we are studying thoroughly, inshallah, through every detail. So we go further to the extension definition. تعريف المد. What is المد? So al-mad is basically saying a letter for longer than the normal time. So if I'm going to say here ta'rif, I will say ta. Letter took some time. Ta, a, ra, ya, fa. I did not say here ta took some time, ain, ra, and then with ya I said ta'rif, ta'rif. See, ra with ya, this one took a little bit longer than ta with fatha. So there is some normal time for every letter, and if you take more than this normal time or al-mad tabi'i, we call it extension or we call it mad. Then after that we should actually define the extension letters. What are the letters that I should do more than normal? The extension letters are two types. The first one is called extension letter, and in Arabic these are the vowels, الحروف المتحركة, the vowels. You know, in English there is A, U, E, I, and O, 5 vowels. In Dutch, I think we add Y to that, something like that. In Arabic, we only have 3, which are alif, waw, yeah. These called حروف المد. But to be defined as extension letter, it has to be stable. So alif, waw, ya should not have ya, and it has to have the previous letter with the same movement. So alif should have the previous letter fatha, waw should have the previous letter dhamma, ya should have the previous letter kasra, like here ta'rif, and here huruf. So here waw, this one is stable sakina, and the previous one is with dhamma. Then it is an extension letter. So we take some examples here. قل أعوذ برب الناس. Here we have 2 extension letters, 2 حروف المد. This is one, waw, sakina, nothing on it or under it, and the previous one has dhamma. This is called extension letter. Should we do something extra? No, we shouldn't. We will go, inshallah, next to when to do. Now we just define the extension letters. So أعوذ, this is extension letter. Here برب الناس, also this one extension letter. Why? This one is حرف مد. Why? Because it's alif, one of these, and it's stable, and the previous letter has the same movement. So alif has fatha, waw has dhamma, and ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, also ar-Rahman here, this alif extension letter, because there is fatha before it. Ar-Rahim, also here ya, and kasrah before it. So this ya is also an extension letter. This word nuhiha has the 3 of them, waw, ya, alif, and the 3 are extension or huruf mad. Here dhamma with waw, kasra with ya, and fatha with alif. This is the first type of extension letters or huruf al-mad. The second type is called harf al-lin. Al-lin in Arabic means softness, so something soft. So the definition of harf al-lin is a waw or ya sakina which has a previous letter fatha. So we have here alif, waw, ya, and the previous letter is following them. Here we have waw or ya sakina, right? And the previous letter has fatha. Why we don't have alif here? Because if we had alif here and the previous letter was fatha, then it will be in this. It will be included here. So here we have two letters, waw and ya, and sakina, of course, and the previous letter has fatha. This is called soft letter, harful lin. We will not discuss anything regarding harful lin today, but in the next lesson, inshallah, we're going to get into this. Let me give you some examples here. Ya, this is stable ya, and before it kha with fatha. So it will not be included here because the letter before it does not have the same, does not have kasra, which is the same movement to ya. So here we have ya and we have kha with fatha before it. Because we have fatha before it and this is stable, this is called harful lin. It will be pronounced al khair. Same thing, wow before it fatha, sawf. Here min khawf, wow, stable, and we have fatha before it, and also لإلاف قريش, قريش, ياء ساكنة, and before it fatha. These are called حرف اللين or soft letter. Now we have two types of extension letters. First one is alif waw ya sakina and the previous one is following it. The second one is harful lin, which is waw or ya sakina and the previous letter has fatha. Now we go to a small exercise and we go to this line, Surah Al-Layl, and we're trying to see if what we see is an extension letter or not. Yeah, let's go. So here we go. Wal-Layli. Is this waw an extension letter or not? This is not. Why? Because it has fatha. So this is a moving letter. The first condition is the extension letter is stable letter, right? And it is waw, alif, waw, or ya. Then we go to the ya here. Wal-layl. Is this an extension letter or not? This one is an extension letter, but it is a soft letter. So because we have ya and we have fatha before it, this is called a soft letter. Here, this alif, because we have kasra, this is not an extension letter. Either this is an extension letter. Why? Because it's alif, sakina, nothing on or under it, and we have fatha before it. Yaghsha, same thing. Nahari, this alif is an extension letter. إذا تجلى, this alif is an extension letter because there is fatha before, and also this one because there is fatha before. Wama, this one is also same thing. خلق الذكر والأنثى, also here this is an extension letter. So now we have the definition of the extension of harf al-mad, how to see this is harf mad or not. Now this is the note because a lot of people are, as I mentioned before, a lot of people are saying, okay, if we have this sign, this is an extension letter. If we don't have it, we don't extend. And we discussed by example while reading Surah Al-Fatiha, this is not the case. So all the letters that have this are huruf mad or extension letters, but that doesn't mean this is the only letters that we do mad when we see. So there is another situation that we can do mad without having this sign. Then we go to the amounts of the extension. Azminatul mud. So there is certain fixed amounts that we can choose from to do an extension or to do mad. First, we have to define al-haraka. Al-haraka. When we do extension, we always say we will do mad harakatain, 2 movements, or 4 movement, 4 harakat, or 6 movement, 6 harakat. So we have this unit, it's called haraka or movement. And what is this haraka? Haraka is the time you take to say a moving letter, like here, bu, ba, bi. This time, ba. This time, it's called haraka. And this is the accurate measure unit for the extension amount. Then if you have ba, if you say ba, if you say 2 letters of this unit after each other, then it will be 2 movement. If you say ba, ba. This time I took to say ba, ba. This time is called 2 movement or harakatain. We will come to that later. But this one, I need to say the amount of saying one letter is called al-haraka or movement. And this is the measuring unit. So the normal amount, if I want to say ba, this is equal to saying two ba with fatha or with kasra or with dhamma or whatever, because the the ba with movement, the moving ba, this is considered one haraka or one movement. So if I have two of them, then I have two movements. And the normal amount of extension, if I want to see bab, the word bab, I cannot say bab, or should I say bab? So this alif should have an amount of extension, should have an amount of time to say it. This is called the normal amount, al-maddu tabi'i, and it's equal to two movements. So what is movement? The movement is the amount of time taken to say the letter ba. So if I say ba, 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 this time took me to say ba, ba, is the time of the normal amount of extension. So if I want to say ba, it should be the same time taken to say ba, ba. It should be the same time taken to say boo or b, because these letters are normal extension letters. Did I confuse any of you guys? If you have question, please send me. So now we defined al-haraka, or the movement, and it's the time taking to say one moving letter. And if you have an extension letter, the normal amount of extension here is, the normal amount is two movement. That's why here we say ba. Why? Ba is the time taking to say two moving ba. Ba, ba. Why are we doing this? Because people used to do, like, if I want to say الضالين, and I know that this extension is six movement or six ست حركات, six movement, they used to measure it like by seconds, which was not available in the time of the prophets. They did not have seconds. They did not have this amount. And other people trying to use the closing and opening fingers, say, okay, if you close and open fingers, this is the time of two movements, or this is the time of harakatain. That means if I close this three times, that means these are six movements. So I say الضالين while doing this with my hand, or moving the fingers, opening and closing them, which is actually, this is a made up kind of measuring the time of extension. So the correct time is, or the correct unit is the haraka, or the time taken to say one moving letter. And we also discussed the normal time, that the normal time equals to saying two moving letters after each other. This is one of the reasons that we have this. We don't agree that seconds should be used here, because reciting Quran itself has three different speeds. I'm sure you heard some people reciting like this. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. See, this is very slow. And when we do the prayer, we do not recite this slow. We recite a little faster. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. And there is another speed, it's called Al-Hadr. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. So what I did here, I did three speeds, and these three speeds are actually correct. So we have a speed called At-Tahqiq, and we have a speed called At-Tadwir, and we have a speed called Al-Hadr. Three different speeds. We will not go into them, but just to tell you guys, we have three speeds. If I'm using seconds to do six movements or to do one extension, then I will have three different speeds, and I will have the same amount of extension. which is not correct. So the extension should relate to something changing with the changing of the speed. So if I'm reciting too fast, then the extension cannot be the same as I'm reciting too slow. It doesn't make sense. There, we have to see how much time taken to say one moving letter in that kind of recitation, and then we measure based on that. I hope this part is clear. This is just a screenshot from one of the lectures of Sheikh Ayman trying to say that أربع حركات, so 4 movements in التحقيق, which is this speed of reciting, which is the slowest, can take this amount of time. And then أربع حركات, the same 4 movement in another kind of recitation, will take lower or uh, lower time or less time. And then if we are reciting with the most and the fastest one, is called al-hadr, then أربع حركات, or the same 4 movement, will take this time. This means that 4 movements are the same, but because I'm reciting in different speeds, then the movement unit will change. Yeah. I hope this part is clear. If you have question, please ask me. Now we go back to the amounts of extension. We have 5 fixed amounts of extensions, and they're all based on this الحركة or this movement time. So we have the normal one, as we discussed here, is called المد الطبيعي. طبيعي, normal, 2 movement, حركتين. And these حركتين or 2 movement are this taking the same time that took me to say this. Yeah. So this is 2 movement. Yeah. Normal. This is the normal amount of extension. And then we have 3 movements, which are a little bit longer than this. And then we have 4 movements, which is the time taken to say this. Musa. So this is an extension letter. So these are 2 movements, and this is an extension letter. So these are 2 movements. So saying Musa, this time that took me to say Musa, this time is called 4 movement, or أربع حركات. And we have 5, which is a little bit longer than this. And we have 6, ست حركات. And it's the time taken to say Ya Musa. So Ya Musa, say the time I took here is 1 second. So this 1 second, I'm not saying you do 1 second, I'm just an example that Ya Musa took me 1 second to say it. And I know when I go to Surah Al-Fatiha and I say الضالين, the rule there is to have 6 movements. So if I'm going to say that, then I will take that 1 second and then I will put it in the extension. So I will say الضالين. The amount of extension in الضالين is the same amount that took me to say Ya Musa. So this is the measurement. If I'm reciting very, very slow, it will be Ya Musa, because I'm reciting, the speed of recitation will be slow. And this is different if I'm reciting very fast. If I'm reciting fast, I can say Ya Musa. See the difference? This is difference in time. These are 6 movements and the others are 6 movements as well, but they are dependent on the speed of recitation. Yeah. Is it clear so far? Do you have any questions?
So it is allowed to do a very long وَلَا الضَّالِّينَ, but then the whole recitation needs to be slow.
It goes the other way around. It goes how fast you recite, and then you decide what's the amount you need for 6 movements, right? So some people do wrong. Some people recite very fast, and then when you go to a dalin, you do it very, very long. They stay like 2 seconds doing ولا ضالين. That is not correct. That means we just heard people doing extension and then we are doing like them, which is no. Scientifically, you have to do 6 movements. So 6 movement, I know you cannot get it accurate, but just don't do too much, because this is the longest, and these are fixed amounts. So the longest thing that you can do is 6 movements. So the longest is the time you take to say Ya Musa. This is the longest extension you can do. More than this, you're just, I don't know what to do. So the fixed amounts, we will come to how to apply them, inshallah. But they are coming to your question, brother, they are coming from the speed of recitation. It's not the other way around. It's not like I want to do long extensions, so I will recite slowly. No, it's not like this, because extension is coming into the recitation. So I will start Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen, and then based on my speed, I will decide how long should I do these 4 movements, 5 movements, or 6 movements. Yeah. Any other questions? Okay, we move forward, inshallah. Then we come to the part that we divide al-mad, or the extension, into sections. And there are sections and they are types. What are the difference? I will tell you guys. So at the beginning, we divide them into sections. This is like going into a building, and then you open the door, the main door. This is the door called al-mad, or the extension. And then you find 4 apartments. These are the sections. And then in each apartment, you find 1 or more types. So the more general is the sections, and then we go into types. What is the important part? The important part is types. So all the parts that I was saying for the last like half hour is not nothing practical yet, but it's very important to know, and it will come into place when we, inshallah, go to the practical part. So here to divide the extension into sections, then we go to the poetry that I mentioned more than one time in the lessons, مقدمة الإمام ابن الجزري. This is line 69. This is line 69, and it's quoting al-mad. So this line is actually summarizing the whole thing we have in al-mad, and it's saying that al-mad is divided into 4 sections. So now we are going into this building. We're opening the door. We have 4 apartments, or 4 sections. The first one is called lazim. In Arabic, lazim means must do, lazim. And we have wajib, and we have jaiz, and we have qasr. So these are the 4 sections. We go one by one, inshallah. What does this section mean? This means that all the reciters coming from the Prophet to us, all the reciters agreed that in this situation, we should do an extension more than the normal one. And they agreed on the amount of extension done there. So they all agreed in that situation, in the situation X, some sort of situation, there they all agreed that the extension should be done, and the amount should be the same. So they did not have any discussion or any confusion in the amount of extension. It does not have that sometime the Prophet did 5 movement or 4 movement, and another time he did 6, or another time he did not do extension at all. So there is no confusion there. It's called al-lazim, must do extension, al-maddu al-lazim. And this contains only 1 type. So we agree that we enter the apartment now, and the apartment has 1 room, 1 type, right? And the other apartment is called al-wajib. The other section is called al-wajib, al-maddu al-wajib, which is in English duty, the duty extension. And what does that mean? That means that in this section, all the reciters agreed that there should be an extension more than normal, but they did not agree on the amount of extension. So some reciters said we should do 4 movements, and the other said we should do 5 movements or 6. So it's not like this one. It's not like a lazim. It's a little bit tolerable. But they all agree that it should be more than normal. So here in this section, I cannot tell you you can do 2 movements. 2 movements means it's normal. Like here, aqsam. Aqsam, this alif is normal. So I cannot tell you here in this section, I cannot tell you do 2 movements. Why? Because they all agreed that the extension may need to be more than normal, but they did not agree on the amount. So here you will find some possibilities. Can be 4, can be 5, can be 6, yeah? And it contains only one type. We will come to that inshallah in details. Then the third section, or the third apartment in that building, is called the possible extension, al-maddul jaiz in Arabic. And this means that the reciters neither agreed on the extension more than normal, nor did they agree on the amount of extension. So here you can find that some reciters say do 2 movements, which is the normal extension. Some of them say do 4, 3, 4, 5, 6. So here you'll find more tolerance in this kind of extension than al-wajib and al-lazim. And this one has 4 types. So this apartment has 4 rooms. And we come to the last section, which is the no more than normal. So here only normal extension is done, but it should be done here. So we should give 2 movements here, and it's same as al-madd al-tabi'i because it's 2 movements, and it's called also al-qasr in Arabic, and it contains the rest of the types, which are 4 types. This is a little bit confusing, so let me introduce you to this chart, which is actually summarizing what we said here. So this is the door of the building. These are the 4 apartments, and every apartment has its rooms. So we have sections, then we have al-lazim, al-wajib, al-jaiz, and al-qasr, which is the last one here. Al-lazim contains 1 type, al-wajib contains 1 type, and al-jaiz, as we stated here, contains 4 types, and al-qasr contains 4 types. So is this so far okay? Did you get any confusion? What I choose for today, inshallah, we are going to go into them, the 10 of them, inshallah, into details. What I choose for today is the one which is not more than normal, which is actually only 2 movements, which some of you or most of us are already doing it. Just it's important to state that it's there, and if it has any problem or any exceptions, may be helpful. So we will we'll go from last to first. We will not go this way, we'll go the other way. So we start with qasr, or the 4th section, and we start with al-madd al-tabi'i. The normal extension, as we said, the normal extension is the extension that the letter can't be without it. So you cannot say ba without have this extension. And the extension amount, of course, because it's here in al-qasr, it will be 2 movements. And we have some examples here. As we said, قالوا يا موسى, this all normal extension. قالوا يا موسى. Don't do anything more. Don't say قالوا يا موسى. Don't do any more than 2. Just the normal extension. قالوا يا موسى. Here, الحمد لله رب العالمين. Some people say العالمين just to put some rhythm or some singing in it, which is not correct. So here, this is normal extension. It's called المد الطبيعي. We go to the second type. It's called the allowance extension, maddul badal. And I really hope when we come to this type of extension that you remember the Arabic term for these extensions because it will be much better and it would help you a lot. And the English termination may be confusing, but the Arabic, if you know it, it will be very, very appreciated, and I think it's for the best. So here the second type is called the allowance extension or maddul badal. And what is this extension? This extension happens with every hamza followed by an extension letter. Just remember that. If you have hamza and there is an extension letter after, then you will do two movements here. You will do مد طبيعي or no more than normal. The extension amount, of course, is two movements because we are in this section, and we have some examples. Like here, this is hamza and it's followed by an extension letter. So it follows this, somehow it follows the mad طبيعي, but it's a little bit different. So here will be amanu. So it will not be aminu. Sorry, this one will be aminu, aminu. So this should have this normal extension. وآتوا, وآتوا. See what I did here? This is normal extension as well. آمن, آمن. Here, وجاءوا. So this extension will come to it later, but what I'm talking about is here, Hamza, and then an extension letter after. This, coming from this al-mad al-tabi'i, this case is called maddul badal. Al-khati'in, al-khati'in. This is the normal amount of extension you need to do. Here, Hamza, and then ya after. Imana, imana. This is normal. This is badal or allowance. It's called allowance. This is the second type here. The third type is called the compensation extension or maddul iwad. Maddul iwad. I really appreciate if you memorize this. Maddul tabi'i, maddul badal, maddul iwad. What's maddul iwad? Maddul iwad is an extension of two movements that we do when we compensate tanween fatha. If you remember in lecture 1, we had this, how to stop, and we had how to stop if you have tanween, if it's kasrah or dhamma, but if it's fatha, we replace it with alif. So this replacement with alif here is called maddul iwad. The compensation for tanween, we do alif, and then this alif is done by two movements. So normal extension, like here, alima. So if I'm going forward, it will be like aliman hakima. So there will be tanween here. Because I left the tanween out, I took it out, then I replaced with alif, and this alif should have this maddul iwad, two movements. Another example, عظيمة, عظيمة, أحدا. Here comes the confusing part. If I have this ma'an and I don't have this alif after, and I'm going to remove the tanween, what should I say? Should I stop and say ma, or should I say ma? The correct way, because I know now this is called compensation extension, is to replace this tanween fatha with alif. So it will be ma. Even if it's not written, I will pronounce an alif here because I know there is a rule called compensation extension or maddul iwad, and compensating tanween fatha when we remove it while being stopping on it. So we will remove it and we will compensate with an alif. So ma. Another example, in sha'a. إنا أنشأناهن إنشاء. So here there is no alif written, but just because I removed the tanween fatha, I put this alif at the end. There's an exception for this rule. If we have ha ta'nith, or here we call it ta marbuta. If we have this, then we don't add this alif. So here, if I'm going to stop, as we discussed also in lesson 1, we will replace it with ha, so it will be rahmah. This should be rahmatan if we're going forward, but if I'm going to stop, I will say rahmah. So I will not say rahmata, rahma. I will not say that. I will say rahmah. So ha at the end. Another example, وشجرة, because we have ta marbuta here. This is an exception for this rule. Yeah. And then same thing with jannah. Yeah. These are the 3 rules that I needed to discuss today. These are 3 out of 10. Inshallah, we're going to go forward into the other rules and see. You'll see a lot of information there that is really, really valuable. Do you have any questions to what we discussed today? No questions. Okay. We go to a summary I made. So far we are going to build on that, inshallah. So far we have discussed only these. What are like a summary for the definition of these type of extension, and an example just to show, and then the amount of movements you need to do. So here for this part or these 4 types, you will like assume or you'll be sure that here will be 2 movements because it's no more than normal. But here when you go to al-jaiz and al-wajib and al-lazim, for these like 6 types, you will have a different, inshallah, you'll have a different length or a different amount of extension to be done there. So this is a summary for what we just discussed today. The homework, I need you to read the practice part that we are going to do, inshallah, by yourself again at home, and try to see and spot every extension letter, like we discussed the extension letter and the soft letters at the beginning of the lecture, and then see if one of these 3 types we discussed today is happening. Is there, it always will be there, the normal extension will be there, but the others like maddul badal and maddul iwad, where is maddul badal here, where is maddul iwad here, and how can we say it as we discussed. Let me go to practice, inshallah.